Hi, welcome to our More Than Music podcast. We are Largo.
This is episode 3.
Yep. And we hope you enjoy it. So for today's podcast, we want to talk about the story of Largo.
Yeah, we thought we would tell you the story because we haven't really done a very good job at explaining ourselves over the last couple of years. And we felt like, well, it's time to explain how we transitioned from being the Arrows to then being Shotgun Fakes, and then eventually being Largo, and what happened in all of those years. And, as some of you might have noticed, we are Largo now. And we never even made a proper announcement about it or anything.
Yeah,
so
didn't.
This is the story of Largo
Yeah.
and how we got here. And we felt like also we should track all the way back to some of the Arrows times to explain some of that stuff, which
Because I
we
feel
never
like
did at
there's
the time.
just a lot of people out there who don't know much of this story that kind of was following my career with the Arrows and then just didn't know anything else after that point. So we're going to go right back to the last record that the Arrows made, which was in 2012.
That's also when our story together began.
Yeah.
Although we had been working together on the Arrows work for a long time.
Yeah.
I was behind the scenes and touring with the band as an extra musician. As you know, I wasn't in any way the face of the band. That was done by two ladies who did a much better job than I can do. But
That's funny.
I was behind the scenes and helping work on the production and the songs and stuff. And we got married in 2012.
We got married in the January of 2012. And then at the end of that year, like September or October, I can't remember, we went to New York to record The Last Arrows. We didn't know at the time it was The Last Arrows record, but The Last Arrows record.
Disaster Queen. Mm-hmm. Which some of you have heard a little bit of.
And some of you don't even know it exists. It's just the weirdest thing.
That's also possible.
Because internet.
In 2012, we had the amazing privilege of going to New York to record an album. We were just kids from South Africa, small town. Durban is a small town in the bigger scheme of the world.
And then I'm from an even smaller town within the small town.
Toti. Anyway, so we had the amazing privilege of being able to go to New York to record with a guy named Fab DuPont, who had earlier in his career had some relationship with South African artists like Freshly Ground. And
he'd done some work with Freshly Ground. I think they did the Samina Mina Waka.
Yes, the
I
World
think
Cup
they did that one
song
together.
And all of that.
Yeah.
But so to cut that story into a short story, because there's a lot of stories we want to tell.
Yeah.
And
plus it was a long time ago, so there's a lot of things that happened in between.
We spent a whole month living on the Lower East Side and going into studio every day from 10 till who knows what time, and just drinking in the vibe of New York and making music. It was like a dream come true in every way. And we had the best time. We were treated like absolute kings.
We were treated like proper musicians. It was nice.
Well, musicians aren't exactly used to being treated well, but these guys were amazing. You know, Fab had all of these like interns, and they would literally like do our admin and do our random runarounds for us and like bring us coffee all day, and it was just the best.
Yeah,
it's like
it was nice.
It was our moment in our lives where we were like, wow, is this what
it feels like
to be famous or something? I don't know. Anyway, it was fantastic, and
it was just special. And New York is really special, and it's magnetic. And that whole time, the best way to describe it is magnetic, because I just want to go back to New York and back to that time, because it's like there was a magnet there that's still half in me and half over there, and that's why there's this.
Yeah. New York is a funny place. You can hate it and absolutely love it.
Yep.
So, and we love it, but we also know,
hate it.
We also know there's no way we
could ever live there.
But we love going there.
Yeah.
So the issue is
Okay, yeah. So we did the record.
Yeah.
Love the record. Love love the process of
let's
recording.
also just contextualize why we did this.
Oh yeah.
Why did we go to New York?
Yes, we
And go to
decided
all that
to
trouble?
do that album because Christy and I had been touring a lot in the States, but like just prior to us recording that album. And so we decided to actually record in the States because we were trying to up the level of what we were putting out. We were trying to make it better. We had been super indie before that, working on the projects and all the albums kind of ourselves. So we wanted to try our best because we were excited about the prospect of what was happening in the US. And then we wanted to just try to put something out that was going to be like...
Yeah. The idea was also working with a US producer would open us up to a US audience because he
even
lives
further.
here. So
Yeah,
he
that was the
understood
thinking.
what's going on in the US.
Yeah,
And
that was
so
the thinking. And it cost so much money, you guys.
it was really about a sound and
Oh my
trying
gosh,
to get a US sound.
It was so much money.
Yeah.
Like it was a boatload of money. And we just believed and we just took the risk, I guess, of paying that money and recording the album.
Yeah. And I don't regret it, even though
No.
the story does get a little bit darker
It gets dodgy
from here on
out.
out. We don't regret it, but
No.
so we did that, okay? And that was
So
the
we
end of
did that.
2012.
Yeah. And then
We made a killer record. We still feel that. We still listen to it and we go,
this
man,
was special. This was
Wow.
a good record.
very different,
Yeah.
but cool.
Yeah. So then after that, went home and wrote a song really quickly on my piano that a DJ took and put some beats with it. And the song did incredibly well in South Africa. And the problem with the song was that it came out before our album was finished and came out.
Well, it was funny because I remember you in New York saying, I've got this DJ breathing down my neck for a song. Which, is cool. That's a cool thing. The problem was we were trying to make an album.
Yeah,
and
I couldn't be
it was
distracted
very hard
by that.
to think about another song.
Yeah.
So when we eventually got home, you were like, it's so late. I got to give this guy this song.
I
So
have
you
to do
wrote the
this now.
song in 2 hours at the piano. You sang a little guide vocal,
Yep,
late at night, just like
at our
oh,
home
cool,
studio.
let's send it off.
Then the next thing I'm hearing the song, basically the next time I hear it, it's on the radio.
Yeah.
So that's really dangerous because very little paperwork was buttoned up, if, basically none. And it was bad because of that. So then that tunneled right into, snowballed into another problem that we were starting to have, which was that we couldn't put our album out because now the song that I did with the DJ was starting to chart and do really well. So there was no match between that sound and the sound of our actual album that we went and recorded.
No match whatsoever. And the way that you would do it in the industry, generally speaking, is that when you're about to release an album, you first push a couple of singles and you try and get a bit of momentum around the new work. So you push it to radio, which no longer is the system. But back then it was, you push it to radio, you push PR and stuff. The problem was radio said to us, well, you already have a song on radio. So they wouldn't play any of the songs off the actual album because they were like, you already have a song on radio and it's charting. It's like becoming number one. And so
then we thought, okay, we fix this problem by putting the song on the album. No bueno. That was not allowed. They were just milking it basically, and we were not allowed to put the song onto our album. In which case it would have been fine. We could have got our album released and put it in the stores. But our label at the time, instead of being the muscle and the clout that labels are supposed to be, like why you actually sign with a label in the first place is to be the muscle when you can't fight and when you don't have the right angle. They just did nothing. Basically, they just sat and waited it out, hoping that maybe they would change their mind, or I don't even know what was going on, but they did nothing. So now we're like scrambling to try to button down some kind of an agreement with the song because it had done really well. Well, it was just doing well and getting more and more successful. But also at the same time, we were forfeiting our shot at putting our album out because they weren't allowing us to put the song on our album.
Yeah.
So it was just a disaster. It was completely, it was such a mess.
It's such a caution for artists because, I think the you can say like, well, basically no agreements were signed, no percentages were agreed upon before the song was released.
Yeah.
Which, if you say that to anyone, they go, "Oh, well, that's stupid."
Yeah.
Yes, of course it's stupid, but the problem is that you don't always have control over all those things. So
for crying out loud, I sang a demo vocal. I honestly thought they were going to say, okay, cool, we like the song, let's get the proper vocal in, and then like that's honestly what I thought was going to happen. And they just took it as is and was like, this is great, let's just use it like this, and next thing I know, it's on the radio. I'm not even kidding.
It also it happened very, very fast, and it went to number one very, very quickly.
The point that we're trying to make is that we were really disappointed. We were happy with our label before because we had a champion at the label. His name is Benji Moody, and we
don't like to name names, but that's
but we will name his name because it should be named. But he was amazing, and if you have somebody like a champion at the label for you, then by all means go ahead and milk it as much as you can, because he just really looked after us. But then he left, and that's what people don't explain. When you're signed to a major label, it works like a company, so someone has a specific job, and when they decide to leave, they pack up their desk and move out, and somebody else moves in, and they don't really know or care who you are. And so when he left, there was other people put in their position who had their own bands that they had traveled like a journey with. So there was no real connection at the label anymore after he went. And then all of this other stuff happened. So we wanted to actually get out of our situation after that with the label, because we were just like, why are we here? Why are we giving you any money?
Also, we are talking about, we're trying to summarize it here because also we don't like talking about bad stuff in the past or whatever. It's over now.
Yeah.
But we are talking about a 2-year legal battle,
which was really tiring.
Really a nightmare. It was a nightmare, and it was so hard. It was such a hindrance to creativity and to work.
Yeah.
And so 2-year battle, and we in the meantime the song's doing well. We're winning awards with the song, but like we have no ownership of the song whatsoever. So it was really, really weird,
so it cost me a lot, and it cost
emotionally,
and I think actually that's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back with Christy and having her leave as well, because it's just really something that you can't really explain to people unless they're in that situation, and it was just too much stress, and it was just too difficult and not worth it in the end.
Yeah, and she was on the business side, dealing with a lot of the people and stuff, and honestly, like, it was just terrible.
It was just so horrible.
I think it just got her to a place of, the music industry is disgusting.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And that's fair.
Yep.
That's fair. If we didn't love music as much as we do, there's no way we would be in this industry.
Or we just try to carry on.
We constantly trying to find ways of recreating the industry and creating our own rules, because we love music.
Yeah.
But the industry is disgusting, and people are being stolen from. There's literally millions and millions of stories going back to the 60s bands, to the biggest bands you might even listen to. Everybody's got a story where they had millions stolen from them, or some conniving plan of, just the manager or the this or the that. It's just disgusting. And
it's just sad, because we're not special. This isn't a horror story.
Yeah.
This is actually a very, very normal thing to happen in the music industry as we know it. today.
But it did do something really sad, and that is that
the Arrows split up, basically.
Christy
She had
decided that
enough,
she had to go.
Yeah. So that was very hard for me, and we decided at that stage that we had this other like side project happening called Shotgun Fakes, where we were performing for people's weddings, and like if they wanted special songs for their wedding, then we would like learn it and play that for them. And so it was like a cute story and a cute side thing. And then we decided, well, let's try to actually move forward with that, because I don't really know what to do in terms of like an industry power move now. There was nothing, I had no idea, and I was really tired, and we just decided at that stage that I was going to just step back, I think, from being the face and being in the limelight a little bit. Like I was going to step back from that. So we ended up spending a long time writing for other artists in South Africa, writing and producing songs for them, for their albums and stuff like that, which I actually really enjoyed.
It was a very natural transition into that, because of the success of Spin My World Around. We were just getting people at our door saying, make a song for us, do this for us. And so we were doing house beats, and it got very interesting. But another day's story as well. But actually Pam got to a point where she was unwell from the stress, and just like it was like almost like a breakdown, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but it got really bad, and so we couldn't really make any decisions about anything, so we just went with what made the most sense. And then the other thing is, all we knew is by this stage we were still with the label, but the label had a completely new staff.
Just do one
actually
funny. They didn't know us at all or care. They had other people they cared about. But I just want to say one thing. Can you tell the funny story now because of the we were getting the AC put into the studio that we were at, and the guy's phone that rang. This is a really funny story. This is true, but this is a good like idea of what was going on at the time. The climate of the time for us.
I'll do one good story of what was going on and one bad story.
Really they've had the bad story.
Really short
they know.
Well, just the examples of our lives at that time. So one of my favorite things that ever happened is we were in our studio, and and we had a nice space. We shared a space with a friend, and we had a really good space that we were working from. And the one day we needed to install a new AC. And so this guy comes and he's installing the AC, and he's like, checking the vibe out and all this gear, and just he's like, wow, you guys musicians, like what kind of music do you make? And he's having this chat to us about like and we kind of like everything, like pop, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And as we're having this conversation about the music that we make, his phone rings, and his ringtone is Spin My World Around, which is the song that we're talking about that was so big. And that was like one of the best, funniest moments of my life. I don't even know if I said anything. I probably didn't. I probably just laughed and told the story afterwards, because it was just really, really weird, and like a weird moment of like, wow, the song is really big. And the bad story is, I'll never forget walking around in the shops.
Oh yeah.
And you just hear the song all
everywhere.
Day long.
Everyone's playing this in the shops.
And we had there was this one patch where we looked at each other and we heard the song in one of the shops, and like it was a vibe, and it was like a cool store, and like a shoe place or whatever, and we were like, that's nice, the song's just playing everywhere, but we can't pay rent.
It's like making everybody so happy, but it's breaking my life in half, literally.
So but anyway, that's enough of that, because whatever.
Okay, devastation, blah blah blah, moving on.
The good thing is that it got us, when everything fell apart with the Arrows, it actually meant that there was work, because we had all sorts of other musical things going on, and people wanting to work with us and stuff.
Yeah.
And now, but the thing is, we were still with the label.
We were still with the label because, well, that's how contracts go with major labels. We were still with them even after Christy left. And then we decided, okay, first things first, we need to detangle from these guys, because nobody cares. Nobody there was there before, so we need to get out of this fast. And so we organized a bunch of meetings. Steph was actually recording the meetings on his laptop, making it look like he was
Not sure we're supposed to say that. Yes.
Whatever. Just like, just have a little bit of proof about what's actually being discussed, Anyway. And we finally got out of that contract, and the condition or the terms that you get out of those sorts of contracts is that we could not use the name The Arrows or release anything under that name anymore, because they kind of wanted to have ownership on that.
We had a little nugget though, because when the girls signed the original agreement with the label, my name wasn't on that agreement. So basically our nugget was that we were now going to make music together. And if I feel like it, I can say, okay, label, that's fine. You can keep owning us, but these songs I own 99% of, and Pam only owns 1%. So go ahead and stake your claim to the 1% that you own of Pam's, because they really had no choice other than that they could say, well, if you keep the Arrows, because that's in the contract, then you can't. So you can't keep the name The Arrows. So we lost the name The Arrows, and we became Shotgun Fakes by default.
Yeah, because then we were like, well, at least we have that little thing that's working. Let's just go ahead with that. It's fine. So it wasn't like that was a conscious choice that we had to make. That was like part of how we got out of that horrible, toxic environment with the label.
But let's get to the fun stuff.
Yeah. Please, because reliving this stuff, it just makes me want to I'm going to go to sleep now for a long time. But then we were Shotgun Fakes, and then we decided we needed a whole change of scenery. Mm-hmm. So we left South Africa for a while. We went to London because we can go to London. It was easy at the time. This was all pre-Brexit. So my Portuguese passport was helping us, and we could go to London. And
which was amazing.
We changed our lives a lot, because it just gave us a fresh perspective, a new perspective on things that had become and felt like really tiring.
We spent about 2 years there, and we just really absorbed the music culture.
Yeah.
Watched so much live music, and just like it was really, really actually special.
Yeah. It was an amazing time. And we did a campaign called 5, which some of you may have followed, where we did 5 songs over 5 months in 5 different cities. We did Amsterdam, London, Durban, Cape Town, and then the 5th city, which is an interesting story. We didn't actually publish the video that we didn't post the video that we put for this song, but the 5th city was LA, Los Angeles.
Yeah. And that's where that story begins, because we were living in London doing this 5 campaign, and that was kind of a strategy for us. But in honesty, we, as much as we were enjoying the city, it just didn't feel right as a place for us to live and stay permanently. And we were kind of thinking of heading back to South Africa.
Yeah.
And so, and we were going up and down anyway to do projects and stuff in South Africa. But so we did this 5 campaign, and that was the first thing that we launched. Try to start building with the new brand. Starting over is not fun.
Starting over is really, really hard. People don't actually talk about it so much, because
we've done it more times than anybody should. And
I think so too.
We're still doing it.
I mean, I don't know, but starting over is hard. And sometimes you think that people are going to care who used to care, but they don't. And it's something that it's not for the faint-hearted. Like the music business on its own is already something that's not for the faint-hearted, but like building a brand and building up a level of success and then kind of handing that over and building again, it's not something that I would recommend very easily.
Knowing what we know now.
There are things I would have maybe done differently now, but I mean, hindsight's always 20/20 vision. But at the same time, I also have no regrets in a weird way. I would do things differently, but I have no regrets. Like,
well, we had an amazing time, and we were adventurers.
Yes.
So we
we're
had an
explorers.
adventure, you know.
Yep.
We saw stuff, and I mean, that's how we want to live our lives.
Yeah.
So we were just doing that.
Then we came and we did the LA part 5 of 5. And I was pregnant, didn't know it at the time.
That's the first. That's on that trip. We came on that trip for completely unrelated reasons.
Oh yeah, I was just helping my brother and my sister-in-law with their baby because my sister-in-law had a really big exhibition here, so
we were really along for the ride,
we were just
having
along
a holiday,
for the ride and just being
and then
family,
we decided,
you know?
well, let's do number 5 here in Hollywood. So we did it in the park with the Hollywood sign in the back.
Which we really need to just put that out.
We've never released it.
We've never released it. The song is so lovely.
At that point, our life started getting really crazy.
Yeah.
So, but on that trip, we did this, and we just fell in love with LA and Hollywood and the area, and we were just like, we got to live here.
Yeah.
And on that trip,
I mean, I'd always been in love with it because
it was my first time.
Of the years that I traveled with the Arrows and we'd come here so many times. It was always like something in me just knew I needed to be here. I needed to move to LA and be here. And I didn't know why, but I just knew in my heart that it was the right place for me to be. And yeah, so just ending up here randomly and then, you know, being married and then pregnant and...
Yeah, so it was on that trip, literally, that we found out we were pregnant. And so, but then, then we went back to London. Now we're talking, this was...
How are we going to do this?
This was like this was March, April, May, somewhere there.
Yeah, April.
And now we're talking, how do we get to America? We're going to have a baby, but how we want to go live in America. What do we do? And...
I don't know why we think that is logical.
It was kind of stupid, but anyway, we made it. It's okay. But it wasn't actually yet that any of that happened. So unfortunately, in the middle of that year, Pam had a miscarriage, which apparently wasn't really a normal miscarriage.
Yeah, it was called a molar pregnancy, actually. I don't know if anyone knows what a molar pregnancy is.
Any doctors out there, but
so there was no baby.
Short is there was no baby, but your body produces the symptoms of pregnancy and creates something, a mass, that it then dispels. Sorry to get
it's a
graphic,
bit gross.
but it was obviously horrible, and it was obviously heartbreaking.
Because you think the whole time there's a child, and then as soon as your body knows that this is not a child, this is something else that's growing,
it kicks it out.
It like gets rid of it so fast.
And it was really a hard thing for us to go through, but and I know a lot of people have gone through it.
Yeah.
But we did get a sense of peace later on, realizing it was never a life. In our case, we knew that it was never a life, which I think makes it easier. And the way people go through that and how often people go through that, that's another day's discussion.
That's another day's discussion.
So anyway, that happened. So we were no longer pregnant. We still had this dream of America. We were living in London, and our plan was, let's go back in October for a business trip, and see what we can get done.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually have anything to go for. We just were like, we want to have something to go for.
Yeah.
And September came.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours gave us a call and said, hey, it's kind of a small thing, but do you guys want to come do this? And we were like, yeah, we do, but
we'll do it.
It was like risky because it wasn't enough to really warrant a trip.
No.
But we just put it out there and we were like, let's book our tickets and find other stuff. And we managed to get other stuff.
So then we got a couple of dates lined up, but then we came here again. And then the second time that we came here in the same year, then I found out I was pregnant again.
On the second trip here, we found out again.
It was crazy.
It was really
and that's Ruby.
Wild.
That time it was Ruby.
And that time, little Ruby, and that one stuck, I guess.
That was baby.
So that's a special story. And, you know, on that trip in October, we were like, we're doing this. We had some meetings, and there was enough for us to be like, okay, let's try. But now we had this pregnancy again, and we're
Now-
like, okay, but let's try. But how on earth do you try pregnant and like knowing that you have to come and have a baby in the US? And so we went straight back to London and via Cape Town via London, and we started working on our visas immediately.
Yeah. And then there was like another opportunity that we would have here to kind of be a bridge, I suppose, for us to come over here and have some kind of work once the visas and everything kicked in. So we were like, okay,
Let's just do it.
let's just do it.
And yeah, we started immediately working on our visas, and artists generally get like this O1 visa, and I started working on that. And the one day, I was reading through the stuff, and I just felt this light bulb. I know now that for me, that's the way that I hear from God. But He was showing me there's something better. And what came to light was this thing called the EB1A, which is a specialized category for a green card, which involves self-petitioning based on not on an employment offer, which musicians don't really get.
Yeah.
Musicians don't really have employment like that, like normal employment. So it wasn't based on an employment offer, but based on your achievements. And I just felt in my heart, that's what we need. That's ideal. That gives us both the right to work immediately, and it's not tied to any employer.
Yeah.
We can be self-employed.
Yeah.
So we went for it, and
By like a miracle.
we got it.
We got that one.
And actually, we came to the US, and we just believed the whole time.
That it was the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And then we had Ruby here.
we had Ruby here because we were already through all the visas and stuff. So it made sense.
But that's what
We had
it was.
already
That's
been
what it
approved.
was. NAM.
yes.
We were then booked. Okay, sorry. Just backing up a tiny little bit. How we even came to America, the opportunity, whatever, was we were booked for NAM so that we could perform and have our song 10,000 Footsteps used to promote one of the new products, whatever. And then
So this is still as
then
Shotgun
we
Fakes.
stayed. Yeah, that was our Shotgun Fakes. But then I got another sense of like, if we're going to go to America, and the whole time we're thinking we'll just stay. If we're going to go to America, we can't have the name Shotgun Fakes. And I don't know why I felt like that, but I felt like that big time. Like, we can't have this name. It's not right. And only after we got here and we were here for a couple of weeks, maybe months, did we start understanding why we just didn't have peace about keeping the name Shotgun Fakes, because there's so many gun laws here and like controversies about the gun laws and things like that. Whereas we had this cute, like South African tongue-in-cheek kind of funny name, Shotgun Fakes is not like a real thing. But here it's just aligning yourself in a way that was probably not going to actually be who we are, but because of what's going on in the culture here,
We didn't want to make a statement.
it would have been making a statement, though, even though we weren't planning it, and picking teams. We were picking a side, even though we actually weren't trying to do that. So we changed our name to Largo, literally like within the negotiations with NAM to come here. Well, NAM is like the audio, like conference. What is it?
I'm sure you guys have heard of NAM. It's a convention.
It's a convention. It's like
in
one of the
Anaheim,
biggest
and
ones in the world, I think.
It's like,
It's
I mean,
big.
we even know about it in South Africa. And
Yeah.
when I told everyone I was going to NAM, everyone was really jealous, and I was really happy because it's special. I mean, it's like a gear expo, and I'm a gear junkie. So,
he's basically the gear nerd in this duo here, because I know nothing. I don't know anything about that stuff.
that's not true. You know the word API,
I know the word API.
and everything's an API, even though.
So we were in negotiations for this contract, and then we changed our name to Largo because I've always loved the name Largo, because Largo is in the name of an album by Brad Mehldau that like changed my perspective on music pretty much, from everything up until I'd done at that point, and then it just changed the way I was thinking about music after that. And it's a very, very special album to me and to Aini. After some time, I suppose he also got his hands on that album. But I was actually saving that name because I wanted to call my first child Largo, especially if it was going to be a boy. This was like before I was married or anything. This is what I thought, like, what a cool thing I could call my first child Largo one day. And then when I was telling Aini about it, then he said, but we should then be Largo because music is our first child. This is what we've done first and what we've created first. So I was like, I'm sold. You don't have to tell me twice.
It's just, I have to admit, I never liked the name Shotgun Fakes.
Which is so funny because he had that name for 2 years. And like, he never told me how much he actually hates it.
Fortunately, what we're trying to basically explain is that we had 2 incredibly busy years, and we started this thing with Shotgun Fakes, and we didn't get very far because everything got interrupted and life got interrupted.
That's true, yeah.
And now, obviously, since we've been in America, that's when we changed our name to Largo. And we changed it actually at the beginning of our time in America.
2018.
Because now we live here, and even since we changed the name, we haven't had a chance to tell anybody that we've changed the name.
Oh, why?
Except for our Patreon video, which explains it in a matter of 3 seconds. So, but that's really the story of how we got to being Largo and why we're Largo. And I personally think it's a much better name.
It's much better.
And I like the name. And now, this year starts the journey of Largo.
Yeah.
So we have our Shotgun Fake songs, which we've already made available on Patreon anyways, for those people who never got around to hearing it. But now we're excited
because
to launch
internet.
into being Largo and into actually lean into building Largo because we've had a baby and immigrated, and it's basically taken up our lives, and
we had no idea it was actually going to be as taxing as it has been.
Guys, it's hard to leave or to move into a new country. And a lot of people have done it, and we've done it more than once, but it's a big move, and we've moved our entire lives, and we had this child here, which was amazing, but very, very stressful because when we went into it, we had no idea of all the difficult things there are to US or to American society, and how different the culture is, and how many things are complicated that we didn't expect or didn't know about. And so, is that okay that it took this long to get everything back together again? And is like, we wanted to do the story of Largo because we wanted to also offer some kind of an explanation to the people who have been following us and have been watching who've been
what
following
we're doing.
the arrows, and who never really understood what was going on, because sporadically we would give people like a bit of music or whatever as we could, but also never with an explanation, always trying to just like quickly tell somebody.
Some of the comments and things, like I would see bits and pieces of people saying, oh, like she left the band to like start a band with her husband, like, and then somebody else would say, no, that's not what happened. And then obviously there's all that stuff that happens on the internet, but it's just, I feel like we've never really addressed it, and we wanted to address it because it's part of the fresh start. It's part of the clean slate. It's just part of turning a new chapter and starting over, which we're really excited about and really happy about.